Nomad Capitalist gets a lot wrong about Central Asia, and it's no surprise to me as he lacks on the ground rigor. However, here's exactly what he got wrong in terms of the potential here in Central Asia, and why realistically, when you are vetting someone to do your international tax planning, you should be going with someone who understands the local mindset, who understands the local culture, who is on the ground. And of course, to disclaim, I'm not here to necessarily bash Nomad Capitalist. It was just an off-claim that I saw from him that I thought should be mentioned. With that said, hello and welcome back to Traveling Report. Today we're going over Nomad Capitalist and how realistically his increasing lack of understanding for the places that he talks about is starting to show. And I'm here in Kyrgyzstan, one of the Central Asian nations, and he grouped Uzbekistan into a large variety of countries. I'm here to tell you that even if we're just looking at Central Asian region, first of all, Uzbekistan is not Central Asia. Kazakhstan has a very different investment climate when compared to another Central Asian nation, like Tajikistan. And, of course, I do on-the-ground proof because of this issue exactly. And it was a short that he was talking about Jim Rogers. And I'm sure Jim Rogers has done a lot of work and done a lot of investing in Uzbekistan when compared to Nomad Capitalist, because what he tried to frame was that there's not a whole lot of difference between East Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East. And what you do by condensing all of Asia is you give people a really bad time with investing. And realistically, a lot of his partners, a lot of the people that he brings to his show know this. A lot of the people that spend time on the ground, they know this. And they know that there's less investment opportunities in Kazakhstan when compared to Tajikistan or when compared to Uzbekistan, because there's FDI outflows. People aren't investing in Kazakhstan anymore because there's less and less to invest in. And I'm someone who, I don't like to specifically call out folks, and particularly I think that a lot of Nomad Capitalists' advice is very surface level, and so he doesn't get a lot wrong because there's not a lot he could get wrong in that regard. However, when you look at some of his statements about the world and about how it's going, it just makes such complex topics so hard to deal with. And like, when I was looking at investing in Bukhara, I wasn't looking at investing in Uzbekistan, I was looking at investing in Bukhara. And I think this is the fundamental disconnect you get with other internationalization providers. They're very surface level and they don't understand the very topics they're talking about. And this isn't to say that I'm somehow so much better, because I have simplified things too, and I have made bad calls in the past. I admit that I've probably made some claims that are baseless, that are pretty silly. But Nomad Capitalist has a tendency to look at Asia and say it's going to be all fine and dandy in investment. He has a tendency to look at Latin America and say, oh yes, you should invest in Latin America. What he doesn't say is what the individual countries are like. And of course, his entire YouTube channel is based on being a funnel for his brands. And from a marketing perspective, Andrew, you're doing well. But outside of SEO, outside of his marketing, the problem becomes that he is so undeniably limited in his understanding of living in these countries and operating in these countries and investing in these countries. And this is what the difference between him and I are, is that I know how to invest it here. I do it. I know how to live here. I've done it. And he says he opens bank accounts, whatever else. He says he invests. Anymore, I don't know how much I believe that. Because, of course, this is going on about the entire industry, but there's just very surface level information being given. There's no specificity. Like, he's given companies he's invested to on this Mexican stock exchange. Okay, great. You're buying stocks. Fantastic. That really isn't investing in an economy. That's engaging in their financial system. That's looking at fundamentals, balance sheets, but that's really not understanding their economy. When I look through internationalization channels such as my own, I really look for the potential in what they have to offer. And for me and my channel, my goal has always been to offer the best of being able to show you directly what the cost of living is based on directly staying in these places and living and breathing these places. And I think increasingly when you look at how these channels operate, mostly because they are so successful in the industry, they pivot to lifestyle content as opposed to what they used to do, which was less lifestyle, more actual ground truth. And I think that realistically, if you look back at Nomad Capitalist, if you look at his older videos, they're fairly good. However, he has had a noticeable amount of lacking information. He has had a noticeable amount of flattening of his information. And I feel this is a disservice to his clients. I feel this is a disservice to anyone who is looking for ground truth. And of course, this is what my channel has been built to remedy, looking at the totality of what is going on in the world. You need sort of that ground truth to be able to invest and spend time in a country without all of the burden of having to worry about people spending your money on essentially very flat, very unsophisticated information. And so, of course, if you are looking for that level of ground truth, that's operational rigor, then I would drop down into the description down below, click the Google Forms link to fill out for a sovereign one-pager where you can get the best jurisdiction for your goals and your lifestyle. With that said, if you like this video, feel free to like it. If you really like this video, feel free to share it with your friends. If you are looking for a way to join me on this journey of internationalization and globalization, feel free to subscribe. This has been the Traveling Report, signing off.